Hi, welcome to this episode of Herald Cafe. Today we have an artist, a multidisciplinary artist who works on anti-caste issues mostly, on social justice issues. He does a lot of digital illustrations and all the other forms of artworks. Let me introduce Siddhesh Gautam, also known as Bakery Prasad.
Thanks, Nilankur. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome to this show. And it's a great pleasure to have you here because you are doing your first solo exhibition in India in a gallery setup.
Yeah,
Starting yesterday, it opened
yeah,
up
yeah,
in Museum of
yeah.
Goa. Tell me about how it did happen. First exhibition you were doing because you've been working on your artworks for such a long time. Till now, like this is the first time.
Yeah.
How did the whole process happen?
So, first of all, thanks to you and to Oraldo to have me here. And it was a great experience yesterday. We were basically the exhibition is a recontemplation of what freedom means to
Mhm.
us. And like I have not given a definitive definition of freedom in the exhibition, but it asks many questions that how freedom is variable and how certain communities have different sort of definitions for freedom. And freedom is not just from a colonial power. Sometimes freedom is from the inside oppressors as well. So the whole anti-caste movement is the struggle for freedom for from not just British or the colonial rule, but also from the inside oppressors rule. So I think the whole exhibition is about that. It talks about a lot of stories around anti-caste movement and people from anti-caste movement who have contributed to this freedom which is not just the freedom from the colonial rule, but the freedom that we feel inside, or rephrasing the meanings of freedom in 2024 or as per our times. The exhibition also have some of my memories that are
Mhm.
that are with my family, because I feel that collecting objects of memories, it also comes with a sort of privilege. If you have a bigger house, you will be able to hold
Right.
more
Collect
things.
things, yes.
So people who do not have bigger houses, how do they memorize
Mm.
people, especially people from the times when we did not had the access of cameras and other things.
True.
So only through objects, things that they have touched, currency that they have used. So I think I've tried to collect some of these objects from my home, and it was also a very interesting experience going back to my home, rethinking about the memories that I had made in my mind, which was very fictional in nature. Like I remember that I had made this memory that my grandmother used to collect silver coins, and she had a collection of huge amount of silver coins, which could have made me a little richer.
Mhm.
But when for this exhibition, when I went back to my hometown and I tried to find that box of that currency, I only found coins of 5 paisa, 10 paisa and 20 paisa. So there are things that there are fictional memories, and working with emoji also gave me this idea of working with these fictional memories, because
Okay.
a lot of us have
Mm.
a lot of fictional memories from our past because of the lack of abundance that we had from
True.
things.
Mm.
And also, this is my first time doing it in a gallery setup. I've been doing exhibitions mostly in public spaces, like putting up a tent and putting up your prints and let people who are coming to the bazaar, or
Mhm.
coming to buy vegetables and groceries, come and visit. So because I think that, because most of my work is around anti-caste movement, around the documentation of anti-caste movement, and if my work is not seen by these people, then what is the point of creating such work?
True.
So I've been doing that sort of gallery setup where I
Mhm.
was not, because I was also feeling as if gallery setup is not for me. It is a very elite space and other things. With emoji, it has been different. Like
Mm.
Museum of Goa, there is a lot of especially Sharda's interest in bringing different communities together, bringing different ideologies and thought processes of the contemporary times together. So I think this was a very interesting thing, and I thought that unlike the other gallery spaces which are very elite in nature, even
That is often
sometimes.
the discussion at the
Yeah, and
gallery.
even sometimes the first conversation that you have with a gallery person, it sounds so elite that you do not want to be a part of it.
Got it. Yeah.
But with Moog, it was very much like these people are as young as me, as
Mm.
as progressive as me. So why not work with them? There was no addiction of eliteness in
Mm.
their nature. So it felt like these are friends whom I do not know. So, and as I expected when I came here to Goa, and I've always loved Goa. And when I came here working with Moog, everybody was so good. Everybody from the helping
Cooperative. Yeah.
staff, from the people in the cafe who kept me well fed, from the people who were working with me, during the exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
People spent full days in the galleries looking at my work. Maybe I at some point of time thought that even I might not have had looked at my work
Mm-hmm.
so much as these people are doing. Somebody continuously creating something
True.
about around my work.
Mm.
So it felt very special, it felt very connected. It felt as if I've been working with Moog for a long
Long.
time.
It's great to hear that you got a institution which is aligned with your thought
Yeah.
process. Also, I would like to ask that your connection with Goa goes a long,
Yeah.
long time. Like tell me about, tell us about
So,
something about that.
like, I've been coming to Goa ever since I was a little kid, and especially because my father was here for a long time. So, I remember walking around the bank side of Mandodvi River when
Mm.
I was a kid, and going to different islands. At that point of time, we could even collect these rocks and pieces of old corals and take back with us in the
True.
airplane.
Yeah.
Now you can't, but I remember so
Mm.
many seashells and rocks
Mm.
and corals that I had collected from here,
Mm.
sand, and there's so much of the flora of
Different trees,
Goa,
then, yeah.
different trees. I was brought up in Uttarakhand, so I always had this affiliation for trees
Mm.
and the nature around me and the shapes that comes in the nature. And when I used to come here, there used to be different trees. And since knowing much about your environment is surprisingly not a part of our course curriculum,
Mhm.
so I used to, and there was no access to internet that time, so it was very difficult to find out what this tree is. So you collect, there is no other, and you do not have a camera as a kid, so the
Mm.
only choice that you get is to plug that leaf, keep it in your notebook and go back to the library and see which leaf it matches most with. So I think these were the connections that and in the colors of the
Mm.
houses
Mm.
of Goa, and I had not seen such bright colored houses.
Mhm.
So it used to be very inspiring. Like, people really, get inspiration and get influenced by different colors and how beautifully they keep their houses. Just keep their surroundings, the cleanliness that people keep. So it used to always, have this curiosity to know more about this place. Also, there was a lot difference between the rest of the India and Goa, because in the rest of the India there was a British rule and
Right.
Goa has had a Portuguese
Mhm.
history. So even those two histories are different. So there are so many different layers to the society here, which is always nice to know about, or always nice to learn about that. And so many interesting people,
Mhm.
so many interesting musicians like Lorna, who has influenced me a lot, by her singing and the energy that she comes with. So I think Goa's contribution to the culture of the modern and progressive India has been a lot, and it has been directly on me because I've been coming here, since forever.
Mm.
And even when I was in my undergraduation, because I used to live in Navi Mumbai, and I would just take a train,
True.
an overnight
Mm.
train from Bombay to here, and stop at Thivim station, so it's accessible. So I remember I've been coming here, as a school child, as a college student, as a master student,
Mhm.
as a professional worker,
Mm.
and now doing my first exhibition here. So it is always nice to be in this
This
environment.
this exhibition kind of showed you a full circle
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there are a lot of. I was reading about you that the colors, your color palette have a lot of Goan
Yeah.
influences.
Yeah.
Maybe that is because you kept journals of that.
Yeah.
So when you were coming
Yeah.
long time back, and Tell us about that. Uh, there's a dominance of the blue color
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
yeah.
thing. Tell us more about it. How will you see that our houses are also blue most of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
somehow connected to it?
Yeah, there is obviously a connection, and I remember when I was a kid, there was this one instance where I was in an art competition in my school.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember I did not win it because of one of the reasons that my teacher said that I have colored the houses darker than they appear. But here,
Okay.
because I did not understand that
Mm-hmm.
logic, that what is darker and what is lighter in that
Mm-hmm.
shade, and maybe that teacher had not visited Goa.
Mm.
So because I had seen these dark blue houses
Yes,
in
yes.
Goa, and I thought that these exists,
Mm.
and maybe I did not had the courage to say it to
Mm.
her that time
Mm.
that
Mm.
maybe you have not seen
Mm.
such houses. I have seen dark
Mm.
colored
Mm.
houses in Goa, bright colored houses in
Mm.
Goa. She mostly wanted us to use light yellows, and because she wanted us to compose it better in the green, that the simplest drawing that we make, two mountains, one house, but that house also has a politics, which
Yes,
color house
yes,
will
yeah,
that be?
yeah.
The bridge that is going, on
Mm.
the brook will
Mm.
have some sort of,
Mm. Mm.
politics. So I always, even in that scenery, I would, color these houses with different things. I remember, using two colors for houses, which are like orange and blue and something like that, and they would say that, we don't have such houses.
Mm.
And I used to feel like, no, I have seen such houses.
Or they must be thinking of
Yeah,
fictional
yeah,
memory.
yeah. And you have, because the whole composition was fictional in that sense.
Yes.
Two mountains like this, I have never seen it. I have
Mm.
lived in mountains for the
Mm.
longest time. There the brook and these curvy
Mm.
bridges. I have not seen those in India, but how are those relevant?
Mm.
So that is also how people see composition, or how
Mm.
people see symbolism. I was very small to understand those
Got it.
big things, but
Mm.
now I do
Mm.
understand
Mm.
that. And also their influence of blue also comes from the Ambedkarite concept of under the blue sky we are all born equal.
Mm.
So that also carries a lot of weight for me. So
Mm.
there will always be an illustration which will have blue. So I celebrate blue,
Mm.
unlike blues are somehow connected with the
Lament,
sadness
yeah,
or lament,
sadness, yeah.
but the history has been sad enough, I think.
Mm.
And in that blues, we are trying to find different hues and different shades of blues. So I think that is the whole reason behind using the blue color, and sometimes adding a little green to it, sometimes adding a little gray to it, because that's how nature is for us. We all see colors after a pollution that happens on that color. We never
True.
see pure color. So I try to use that same concept in my work as well. So there's always a gray hint in my blues, and that also there are many inspiration that that makes a person's aesthetics. And I think Goa's houses have been a very interesting inspiration, because, and also in that scenery, only in Goa I had seen the houses which used to have those vernacular roofs,
The
because
tiles.
because that was not the case where I was staying in Uttarakhand. So that was also, I used to feel that they're fine with this vernacular roof, but they're not fine with the colors. So yeah, I think there are many influences, but it remains a very important one.
And talking about your color palette and your medium of digital illustrations, and you work mostly with the digital illustrations. You do not do paintings. You also do
I
paintings,
do, but yeah.
But you're mostly concentrating on digital illustration. Why did you choose? Why it is your preference?
I think this is also about the politics of me as an artist. I find that digital medium is more democratic
Okay.
medium at this point of time. It is also more cost effective to produce more art. Like for now, till now, I might have had produced more than 1,500 artworks, and I know that I could have had afforded to make so much of artworks, because I had to just buy one iPad on EMI, take Procreate once, and then I for 5-6 years I've been using that iPad. So I think that also, and well, because I studied design for 7 years, and everybody used to tell us that you talk with material, the material speaks to you. And for
The
some,
tangible aspects
yeah,
of it.
but and to be honest, I've been speaking to these materials since a small child, because I was keeping journals, I was, drawing on metals, I was trying to stitch leather, because my family used to work in these areas.
Hmm.
So that speaking of material, it was like the material never spoke to me, the money spoke to me at that point of
Mhm.
time. To be honest, when you're painting the back of a cycle rickshaw, even a small defect is
Mhm.
a cost. So
Yes.
we were small, so even though we were just helping our uncles, in
Hmm.
doing that, we knew that, the material is very strict with us.
True.
And I realized that when people started to say this, the material speaks to us, the digital material doesn't speak to us.
Hmm.
I was like, but this all is material. It is all made up of earth.
Hmm.
This whole thing that you are seeing, it is not, an alien technology, or everything, the metal, the silicon, everything comes from
From
the
the art,
same
yeah.
earth.
True.
And I am feeling like I am talking to that material.
Hmm.
Maybe you are, not grown up enough
Hmm.
that you are able to talk to these new materials which are
Hmm.
changing our lives. And it is like technology has been kept away from us for a very long time historically,
Okay.
in the name of knowledge, in the name
Hmm.
of traditions which were not spread through writings and other
Hmm.
things in the
Hmm.
Indian culture. I am not very proud of Indian culture being an oral tradition,
Hmm.
because of that oral tradition you chose whom to tell your stories to. Or
Or you can tweak it
yeah.
accordingly to, yeah.
So here, I think the democratization of this digital media and the cost effectiveness of it, I started seeing so many people who are just using Canva and using their old phones, or one phone that the whole family has,
Hmm.
and creating artwork on that. And that inspired me a lot, that I can also create artworks on
Hmm.
them. And also there was this huge void that I used to see. So I used to see that in the anti-caste movement, it has, there are no symbols as such that are there in anti-caste movement. I remember when we young folks, the artists, who are currently working in the contemporary art field, 10 years ago, all the Dalit stories used to be documented by most of the oppressor caste, and they would show, us in a gaze, whether it is
Right.
art or anything. And in last 10 years, it's us who has been doing these
Hmm.
drawings or
Hmm.
making these
Hmm.
photographs. So and you see the change of dignity that has come in the
Comment.
visuals and
Yes.
other
Yeah.
things. So we are not just broken people, or we
Hmm.
are not seeing our own people in gaze, but
Hmm.
we are seeing them in solidarity with love, with
Hmm.
our own community people as one people. So I think that also adds up to the whole thing. And this whole uh, the technology, till the time it is, and this has been used by everybody, be it Mahatma Phule, Dr. Ambedkar. They utilized the cheaper printing presses, and came up with their pamphlets and writings. And we are just also using the technology in the same way. And we are also welcoming, or we are also getting ourselves ready for the new technologies of the future, such as
Hmm.
AI. So
True.
there are a lot of people who says that, oh, AI is blinding us. Of course there should be some rules and regulations about
Hmm.
it, but you can't say that you will not just accept AI.
Hmm.
Some of the people may say that, but it is really helpful for the oppressed communities.
Hmm.
Some of the people who can't, who, because we do not go to the best of the convent schools, or these
Hmm.
schools where our English would be very good. So
Hmm.
a lot of people have started to take help of chat GPT and such mediums and platforms, where they do not require an assistant to edit their write-ups,
Got it.
which used to be a
Hmm.
major blockage in their going forward or progressing in there. And we also have realized that or knowing a language is just a skill. There are so
Yes.
many
Yeah.
other skills that people have. And I think I and the community, the whole community, the whole anti-caste community also accepts new technology, and tries to work around it, work with it, because sometimes these new technologies are more accessible. There are
Hmm.
more people. I remember nobody would wanted to see Ambedkarite art that much. I remember I was told that you should change your subject, because Ambedkar poster doesn't sell in more than 100 rupees. But even though the galleries were not ready for it, but social media was there, so I could
Hmm.
just put it out. So I
Yes.
made my Instagram feed as my own exhibition. And then there were people who were interested that let's work together. So I think we can use these things as our advantages, because the social structure is not at our advantage.
Got it.
And for that we will have to reach to the position of power where we are policymakers, or we are in that sort of power. Till the time we do not have that sort of power, these are the things that we can evolve with.
You can use this as an agency to have your voice forward. Yes. And talking about that, how do you see you taking this anti-caste movement, making art, democratize the art? What are the steps you are taking? I could see in your artworks that you are picking up a lot of heroes who were often sidelined, who were not in the mainframe. That you are doing a lot of work on them. What kind of works are you doing to make them more popular in the common people?
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to contemporize what they have done in the past.
Okay.
So I'm trying to say the things that they wanted to say back then in the more contemporary language, in the more contemporary visual language as well, not just writing language but also visual language. And I think it also happened very organically. I started to first, I used to read these texts and I used to think, what should I do with this? Because now I have read these things, I have learned something new. What should I do with that? And my skill is to create things. So I started to create things, and it was very natural because I went to these modern design schools where I was, taught in a very contemporary way to, see things.
Yes.
And I think that is also the reason that I started to take these older writings and older stories in a more contemporary way. I've always liked storytelling, in different forms, in school, like in debate, speeches, as well as in theater. So I thought that storytelling can also be a tool to talk about these things, and I think
you can give me an example of one person that you
have so I've been working on Savitri Mai a lot.
Okay.
So even the literature that I sometimes see of Savitri Mai and Jyotiba Phule over her husband is somehow gives more power to Jyotiba.
Okay.
Because maybe it's a patriarchal society and that's how things goes. And Savitri Mai is always shown as this, one woman who is always very pallu, and she's just secondary to Jyotiba, and she's always wearing pallu and other things. But in my mind, how I read her stories, how I read her poetry, I thought that no, she might not be, bounded, in these things of pallu and other things. And when I visited Pune, there was such nice weather, such nice breeze that, one cannot just put a pallu. So, I would make Savitri Mai, in postures where, her hair are flowing and, she is giving directions to Jyotiba. Because in my head, there would have been so interesting conversations between Jyotiba and Savitri Mai, so that we are still talking about both of them. So those things were, taken away. The only intellectual that was that people tried to show was Jyotiba Phule. Maybe it was my misinterpretation, but even as a user, if I am getting misinterpreted in that, if I am misinterpreting these things, then there has to be something more simple and more, straight about these things. That where is the agency of Savitri Mai? So like now I'm also working on a graphic novel where I'm working on these dream sequences. So it's like every night, after finishing my work, I sleep and in a dream I meet somebody. And sometimes I meet Savitri Mai, sometimes I meet Uda Devi, so different people I'm meeting, and I'm talking about these contemporary issues of our times. So imagining that in 1800 Savitri Mai was asking everybody to go get education. In 2024 she might have had asked to go get wisdom. So there would have been change of what, because the accessibility to knowledge is there, but the accessibility to wisdom is not there. So what should she would be promoting at this point of time? So contemporarizing those things. And I think this is a very enjoyable journey, because while you're doing this, you have to imagine these people live in front of you, and that is the best thing, that in the evening you can have a cup of coffee with Dr. Ambedkar or Savitri Mai, and discuss these things in a more contemporary way. And I think this is also fun part that I really enjoy, because otherwise, art could be a very sad space to be in, because uh, artists are very emotional people,
Mm.
and especially when there are violence around you, especially what is happening in India
Yeah.
with minorities,
Mm.
what's happening in Gaza,
Mm.
the Russian-Ukraine war.
Mm.
Everything makes you very sensitive, and sometimes when you find a way to express your sensitivity,
Mhm.
that is the only place where you find peace and tranquility. So I find peace when I have these light moments with people who are not alive anymore.
Mhm.
And I really am privileged to to be a part of those set of people who think, who create, and who imagine, because I think this is also a time that we think more, we create more, and we imagine more, because for some reason I think that we have made our imaginations to our realities. So I think let imaginations and mythologies be what they are, and let's create more over it, more layers to it.
Got it. And now, lot of, I think we're coming towards the end of the conversation, but what I want to say in the end, that there's a community of artists, thinkers, who has come forward, like Chaitya
Yeah.
Bhumi is, Somnath Wagmar is doing, or Sanjay Yangde, like
Mhm.
he's like topmost, like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things. There's a community is coming up and taking the power back to
Yeah.
them. No,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Any message to the artist of Goa would you like to say before we go?
I
Yeah.
think the artists, not just Goa, but I think every artist, I would like to say to them that, no art is apolitical. People say
Okay.
that,
Mm.
art is apolitical, or my art is apolitical. The statement itself is a very political statement. To take a stand that, you are not political, that
Okay.
means you are taking a stand with somebody who is in power, or who
Mm.
is politically,
Mm.
powerful, because
Mm.
you're not taking a stand against them.
Mm.
So I think we all are political as artists. Even a flower or a butterfly that we draw,
Mm.
it has a politics behind.
Mm.
Why did we draw that particular power? It comes with the privilege that we comes from. It comes from the scarcity that we see. So if an artist knows what they are drawing and why they are drawing is,
Mm.
there is more probability of them being successful and remembered. And to be honest, most of the artists want to be remembered after they're dead for
Okay.
some years,
Mm.
or leave work
Mm.
behind, because there are hundreds and thousands of artists that are being made every day. There are art colleges in every city, in every state. So there are artists who are made. So this is not something which is very unique. The only unique part about artists is the way they think.
Right.
And if they're clear about what they're thinking, and if they're ready to take people amongst them, or their viewers, or their patrons
Mm.
along with that, and try to find a reason behind what they're doing it, or know the reason behind what they're
Got it.
doing.
Yeah.
Even if you're a part of a fascist regime, if you know it,
Mm.
that you're a part of it, you would be able to create better work for them. So I think
Yeah.
knowing it is the first step to become an artist, because everybody can think. I mean, that is the
Yes. Yeah.
uniqueness of human beings,
Yeah.
that everybody is a unique thinker.
And that will only come through introspection
Yeah.
mostly. Thank you for your time,
Thanks, Nilankur.
and all the best for your exhibition that is going on. And I would like to tell my audience that the exhibition will be going on for 2 weeks till September 8th. If you'd like to see Siddhesh Gautam's work, please visit Museum of Goa, see the artwork, appreciate the work he's doing. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will see you next week.
Thank you.